Hello there, Game Design Club Coding Committee. This is going to be the project you're going to do for Phase 2. I'm first going to be showing you what we're going to be building, and then we're going to be going into building it. So it's not going to be just some 5-minute project that I told Evan. I did make it in 5 minutes on my own, but I'm going to have to explain everything. So what we have is we have a smaller than, a larger than, a generator and everything, and we're going to enter a random number, and it's going to tell you whether it's larger than or smaller than that number. And now we have a certain range to guess from, so it's smaller than that, so it's somewhere in between. Just keep on entering random numbers until we win, and it tells you we win, and you can generate a new number like that, but it doesn't reset that. Or you can completely reset it, except for that. So yeah, here's what we're going to be doing. So when you first open up your Unity, what you're most likely going to see is you're going to see a screen that looks like this, except with a lot less projects, because I kept on screwing up and redoing my video. So what you're going to do is you're going to click not open, you're going to click new, and you're going to name your project. So I'm going to be naming this Phase 2. You can name it whatever you like, doesn't matter. And then make sure you click 2D for the asset packages, because we're using 2D instead of 3D. And then we're going to click create project. Alright. So there's going to be a few things you notice when you first open your Unity and create a new project. You'll see a blue screen with a tab called game. You'll see a hierarchy. This is where all your objects are going to be stored and created. You'll see an inspector. This is where your objects are going to be messed around with. This is where the parameters and where we add all the functions are. And this is where the assets are. This is where the scripting is going to be placed in, and all the sprites and stuff for future. But what we want to do first is we want to click on scene so that we can edit the scene inside of the game. Right? I just scrolled out and I'm using right click to move this. And we want to go over to the hierarchy, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, scroll over UI, and click canvas. And what this is going to do is it's going to create a brand new canvas for our game to be in. Instead of right clicking and scrolling over, you can go over, click game object, click UI, and do the same thing. Right? It's the exact same thing. There's no difference. But what this canvas is it's going to hold our game. Now what we want to do is we want to create 3 panels that our game is going to be played on. So the first panel, and we're going to name it main panel. And you can see that in the inspector, a bunch of things popped up. These are the parameters of it. What we want to do first, before we mess with anything, is we want to click on this, and we're going to click center right here. What this is going to do is it's just going to make it a lot easier to mess around with the parameters for this. This is what I'm going to be doing for most of our panels when we use panels. And let's just change the width. I'm going to change it to 500 and keep the height because it's the height of the canvas. Alright, we're going to want to create 2 more panels. We can just create this first one. Let's name it smaller numbers. And we want to first change it to center so that we can change the width and height here. And then let's change the parameters to something like this. That can be like 200 or something. Alright, and then we can move it up to here. Alright, and then what we can do is we can go back to hierarchy, highlight it, Control C, and click Control V, and it creates a copy of it. Let's rename this to larger numbers. And now, once we have that, make sure it's still highlighted over here, and then in the scene, we can drag this over to the other side. Alright, so this is going to be the panel. You can click over the game to see what it's going to look like in the game. So this is what it looks like so far. Let's go back to scene. We're going to need quite a few things within these. We're going to need a bunch of text, a bunch of buttons, and an input field. Let's start with the main panel. In the main panel, we're going to need a few buttons, 3 to be exact. So the first button is going to be, in order to get the button, you right click the main panel, scroll over UI, and click button. Now this first button is going to be called generate. But as you can see, when I click enter and rename this button, it doesn't rename the text right here. in order to change the text, you're going to drop down into the text component of this button, and you can change the text right here, right? And let's name this change this to generate. And what we want to do is we want to scroll down, and we want to click on best fit. What this is going to do is it's going to change the font size so that it fits the button perfectly. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on button over here and move this entire button up to the top. You do not have to follow my layout exactly. I actually highly recommend you mess with the layout and make it your own, so that you have more experience in messing around with this stuff for future use. But yeah, this is what I'm going to be showing. So now that we have this generate button, we can control paste and control paste 2 more, right? Let's name this to reset, and submit. Alright. In this tutorial, I'm actually going to be leaving the reset button alone. And after I go through everything, I'm going to challenge you guys to create the reset code on your own and implement it by yourself. But for now, I can just help you around with moving it. And in order to do that, make sure you highlight it right here. And let's move the submit button down here. And let's change the texts for these so that it matches with its purpose. Let's change that to submit. Alright, now that we have the 3 buttons we need for the main panel, we're going to need a few pieces of text. In order to do that, like the other things, we right click the main panel, or you can click game object, doesn't matter. Scroll over to UI and click text, and it just creates a new text view, and you can see that it already has open in the inspector the text that you want to edit. So let's change this to choose a number from 1 to 99. This is going to be like the instruction. Let's center this and click best fit. Yeah, that's good enough. We can increase the width and height so that it looks better. That works. Now let's just copy and paste this. You can just create a new text, it doesn't matter. And let's put 3 question marks. What this part is going to be is it is going to be the part where we're going to rename this to generated number. So this is the part where it's going to say congratulations, you won, you guessed blah 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 correctly, and we'll just leave it at question marks for now. Now that we have this, we need one more thing in the main panel, which is the input field. So as you may have guessed, you go over to the main panel, right click, scroll over UI, and then click input field. And this has an input field right here. Let's move this downwards, right? And inside this input field, before we edit anything else, let's scroll down in the inspector, and you can see a component called input field script. This part controls the entering of text and everything. What we want to do first is we want to go to the character limit, and we want to change it to 2. So this makes it so that you can only enter up to 2 characters inside of this input field. We want to make it like this so that they can't put it over 99. And then what we want to do is we want to change the content type so that it's an integer number, so that the person can't type a decimal or a character, because that'll screw up the code. Now that we have this, of course I highly recommend you mess around with the layout. You can change the color and everything of the text and stuff. But yeah, so once we have this, we can actually change what it says here. You see how it says enter text. In order to do that, we go down, we open up the input field, we click on placeholder, and let's just change this to numbers, or number. Right, that works, and then it has this text for the input field, and we're good. Now we're done with the main panel. Now let's start with the small numbers. So what we want to do with the small numbers is we want to create a new text. We'll do that, of course, by the same thing as everything else. Let's name this to, actually we don't name this because we're not going to be editing this. what this part is going to be is just going to be smaller numbers. Alright, and let's center it, let's fit, let's move it all the way up to here, and make it fit. Alright, we can just copy this, or actually, in order to copy it, you have to go back and highlight it, Control C, click on the larger numbers, Control V, and you can see right here that it actually created a new text outside of the larger numbers. In order to fix this, we just want to grab it and drag it so that it is inside, and this makes the text inside of the panel. Since it's highlighted, we can now move it over to the other side and change it so that it reads larger numbers. We want to change this to smaller numbers to smaller than, because smaller number right here isn't going to be the smaller numbers, it's actually going to be the numbers that the generating number is larger than or smaller. The next step is we actually need to create another two text files, or two text objects. For these text objects, what we actually want is for them to fill up the rest of the panel, make sure they fit, and make it completely empty. Let's actually rename this, because we will be treating this, and let's rename this to smaller numbers. Right? So this is going to do is this is going to hold all of the numbers that are going to be smaller than the randomly generated number, and we can just go over here, Control C, Control V, and drag this into larger numbers. Let's rename this to larger numbers and drag it so that it's over here. Now that we're done the layout, this is all the things that are required. Now that we're done the layout, let's get on to the scripting itself. Now the scripting language we're going to be using is C#. It's a very powerful scripting language that's been used a lot. So yeah, in order to create a new scripting, the new script file is you want to go down to the assets. You can either go up to assets up here and click create C# script, or you can go down, right click, and create C# script. Both are the exact same thing, so it doesn't matter. And let's rename this to logic or main logic, it doesn't matter. And once you name it, it's going to have an inspector thing. What you want to do now is you actually want to double click on this or click open, it doesn't matter. And it's going to open up this, it's going to open up your script into the script editing software that you installed with Unity. Hopefully you did download this along with Unity. I know Unity is kind of big, but it's really powerful and really good. So once you open up your logic.cs class, which is logic.c#, so right here, once you open this up, you'll see a few things. You'll see using Unity engine, all of this jibber jabber that you're probably not familiar with. So I'm not going to go too much into detail about this, but as the comments suggest, this part runs everything inside of this code when the script is first used. Everything inside of here runs every frame of the game. We won't be needing either of these functions. We can use void start, but we don't have to. But before we do anything, we need to make sure that we're able to access our text objects. And in order to do that, we have to import another directory. In order to do that, we're going to type using Unity engine.ui. Now what this does is it allows us to create text variables. Now what we're going to need is we're going to need 4 text variables and 2 integer variables. Let's start creating. So we're going to always start out with our variables with public. What this means is it allows our Unity engine to see these variables and edit them. If it does not have public, our Unity editor will not be able to view these variables and will not be able to change them according to what's going on. The script itself would have to change it. So first we need to type public, and next we have to put the type of variable. And since we're using text, we type in text. Alright, let's make the first variable called number guessed text. Now this is what this is going to hold is it's going to hold the text for the number that was guessed. Yeah. Alright, now let's create a few more. Number text number generator. What this is this is going to be these quotation marks. It's going to change when you answer the number correctly. So you win, you got the correct answer. And then let's create the next one, public text smaller numbers, and then public text larger numbers. Alright, now that we have our 4 text variables, let's create our 2 integer variables. What an integer variable is it is a whole number. It doesn't have a cap, but we don't need to worry about that. So it's pretty much a variable that stores whole numbers. Public text stores a text variable. We'll get into the different types of variables later on, but this is what we have for now. So now we need to create a public int number generated, and then a public int number guessed. Alright, and oops, should have number text generated, so that 2 variables cannot have the same name, so you need to get creative. Right? So now that we have this, we're going to have to create 2 new functions. 3 for the reset, but we're not going to get into that. I'll go over that after all this. So we're going to create 2 new functions. What a function is it's pretty much one of these things where it runs code inside of it when called. When the function is used, it runs the code inside of it. So we need to create 2 functions for the buttons generate and the button submit. So first let's create the public function so that the editor can use it for generate. And let's name it public void generate parentheses, and that is how you create a function. Alright? Now once you have this, what you want to do in the generate is you want to type number generated is equal to random dot range 1, 99. What this does is it uses a single equal sign. What a single equal sign does is it assigns the right value to the left value. So whatever's on the right side of the equal sign gets assigned to this left value. Alright? So what public void generate does is it creates a new random number from the range of 1 to 99. Right? So number generated is equal to a new random number now. Next, what we want to do is we want to create the next function called public void submit. Right? Now, this public void submit is going to be the function that's going to handle all of our testing. And the main type of testing in almost all programming languages is the if statement. So what an if statement is it comprises of an if, parentheses, and a block. Or it doesn't have to be a block, but pretty much what a block is within these braces, all the code inside of it. So inside of these parentheses, it has to be a condition that returns true or false. If the condition returns true, then everything inside of this block will run. If it returns false, the code will skip over all of this and move on. Yeah. So inside of this if, we're going to put if number guessed is greater than number generated. Then inside, if the number guessed is greater than number generated, we're going to want to add to the larger numbers. So in order to do that, we type larger numbers dot text, so that we take the text of these large numbers, and we do plus equals, which means that it adds onto, it adds whatever's on the right onto larger numbers dot text. And then we do number guessed, because we want the number guessed inside of, right here. We want the larger numbers inside. other large numbers inside there. And then we also want, for visual purposes, a comma and a space. Alright? Now let's copy and paste this twice. And let's make if number guessed is less than number generated, we can change this to smaller. It actually has to be this and this. And that is because if the numbers are guessed is less than the number generated, that means that the number is greater than the number guessed. And same for this. I had it backward is equal to. Now, you might notice the difference between these two equal signs and the one equal sign. What two equal signs in almost all programming languages mean is the value to the left the same as the value to the right, and it returns a true or a false value. And so if these are the same, then it's going to run this code, which is going to change the, what was the variable called? Number text generated dot text is equal to you win. Actually, you wanted. Yes, that's better. You wanted plus number guessed. Right? Let's also add a backslash add or /, which is which. I think that's backslash. Okay. What this does is it actually creates a new line in the it creates a new line. So it has blah 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 blah, and then it creates a new line, and then it puts whatever's next. All right. Now that we have all this, nothing's gonna work yet because number guessed isn't a number yet. It's just a number that's 0. So in order to do that, what we want to do is we want to take number guessed is equal to, so we're going to assign the right value, int.parse number guessed text dot text semicolon. Alright? So what this is going to do is every time you click the submit button, it's going to change this public int number guessed into a number guessed text dot text as an integer value. So what int.parse does is it takes whatever this does, finds the number inside of it, if it has a number, and then it cuts off everything else, and it changes it to an integer value. So this is taking whatever's in this text value of number guessed.text, changing it into an integer, and then assigning it to number guessed, so that we can use it for all of this. Alright? Now that we have all of this, we should be ready to go back to Unity Editor. Alright? And you can see inside of the inspector, all of this has updated. Unity's really good with updating this automatically. But even if you try running it right now by clicking that play button, nothing's going to happen when you click submit and enter a number or reset or generate. Oh, reset, we haven't done anything. Nothing's going to happen. And the reason for that is we have to actually attach this scripting file to these objects. Alright? So what we want to do is we want to either go to the main camera, click add component, scripts, logic, or we can just take logic and drag it onto main camera. And that creates a new logic component in our main camera. Alright? Now that we have this, let's assign everything to these variables. So first, the number guessed text is going to be from the input field. This text is going to be the part, is going to be the value holder of what the user enters. Let's go back to main camera and drag this text into number guessed text. Alright? Next is the number text generated, that is this part. So in order to get that, let's go to, it's in the main panel. I believe it is this part, not this part, yeah. Let's get that, and let's drag that right here, right? And smaller numbers, and then it's this one. So let's take that, drag it there. Larger numbers, take that, drag it there. Alright? Now that we're done with assigning all the variables to certain values, let's go to the buttons to get everything to working. So once you click on generate, you can see that there are a bunch of stuff you can edit. So let's scroll down to the component that says button script. Below everything right here, which you can change the color and stuff. Yeah. Below everything, you can see that there is an on-click parentheses list is empty. Right? What we want to do is we want to put our generate function in here. In order to do that, we're going to click the plus button, and we can see that there are a few new things here. In order to add the script to get the function here, we're going to get our main camera, right? And we're going to drag it into right here. This is holding an object, right? And now that this is right here, and we click on no function, we can see that there are a bunch of things that are from the main camera. At the very bottom, you can see that there is a logic, and if you scroll over the logic, there are a bunch of functions, and the function you wanted for generate is, of course, generate. Right? Now that we have that, we're going to do the exact same thing for submit. We click the plus button, we drag the main camera, and then we click the function, logic, submit. Right? And now, with all of this done, if we click play, we first click generate, and then we can enter random numbers, so it's smaller than 80, larger than 50, and keep on running, and oh, it's so fun. So it's within, right, smaller than 55, 4, 52, I mean it's 51. I wonder, yay! Alright, so now I challenge you guys to program the reset button by using these, creating a new public function, and resetting these values to new things. Alright? So this has been Zachary Norman, your master of coding. This is still the second phase. That's why the game isn't that complicated. This took me forever to create because I kept on screwing up. I haven't touched Unity in a while because I have my final for Mr. Carr, and I've been extremely confused with JavaScript and C# for a while. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Please have this finished. I'll figure out a way for you guys to turn it in. And thank you. See you next time. Watch my stream on twitch.tv/charles832. Bye.